Hi, everybody. I'm Gwendolyn Sterk, and I'm honored and privileged to be with Aishling Dalton-Kelly of Aishling Companion Home Care. How are you, Aishling?
Great, thanks, Gwen. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Hey, today I really want to talk about a difficult subject. That subject is this kind of early on joke we have about our senior moments, but then it turns into a real serious conversation about dementia versus Alzheimer's. Fair enough?
Yes.
And your company, as I understand it, also deals with these particular issues, and you can provide care in those circumstances.
Yes, we can.
That's good. So I think the first conversation piece is, and everybody has this question, can you tell us what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
Well, dementia is like an umbrella term. And if you were to put up that umbrella, the first thing underneath that umbrella would be Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Okay, so if you have Alzheimer's, you do have a form of dementia. However, if you have dementia, it does not mean that you have Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's is probably the most prevalent form of dementia, carries between 60 to 70%. But there are other dementias, such as frontal temporal dementia, Lewy bodies dementia. Parkinson's is a form of dementia in itself, and there are various others dementias. So people get confused all the time, and they say, my mom has Alzheimer's dementia, and then they say she has dementia, and then she has Alzheimer's, and it is possible that she has had a formal diagnosis of the disease, but doctors in general pretty much put the label of Alzheimer's on most people that have some sort of memory loss, unless there's other specific things that lead to that specific type of dementia, if that makes it a little bit easier.
It makes it a little easier, and I think it's very clear then the different alternatives that are there. So if you sense that your parent or an elder in your family is starting to get past that senior moment stage and it's getting a little more serious, what really should be the first step that you should take?
Well, the very first step, sadly, most people don't know, is really for you as the daughter or the son to really start documenting what you're seeing. Because it's very hard to give examples when you're just going on your memory that, oh, I think last week she forgot her keys, and I know one time in the winter she did X. As a family member or a daughter or son, you need to be really keeping track when you see a big change just from the senior moments. And then the next thing is obviously, of course, to make an appointment with your doctor. And it's important to speak to your doctor in advance because, let's be honest, when you bring your mom or your dad to the doctor and the doctor says, how are you doing? What do you think they say? They say, everything's great, doctor. Right. Now, to that fact, since you're an attorney, another important thing is that whoever is bringing their loved one to the doctor has to be on that power of attorney in order to be able to get that information, right? Because very few people are going to admit that they have memory loss, right? Nobody's going to admit that they're losing it, so to speak.
I sure wouldn't, right?
Of course.
Sorry, I know you well. It's not.
Of course. So the most important thing would be to have that, conversation with your doctor saying that you're bringing mom or dad in, that you've noticed X, Y, and Z. And then the doctor will do a certain amount of testing from there. Many people get diagnosed right within the doctor's office, get some sort of medication, and away they go. However, there are different options to different families who may want to take it further to get that specific diagnoses, especially if there's maybe challenging behaviors or a rapid onset, which sometimes happens in the different types of dementia. So the doctor is the first stop for everybody, and then it goes from there as to really what you want to find and the path that you're willing to take.
Right, and really understanding what options for treatments are available out there, because there's a lot of criticism of some of the treatments. There's a lot of things that are other alternatives. And I think that sometimes we just go to the family doctor and we stop there as well. I think that a good investigation of those options also has to be pursued. And your conversation about the different types is really critical for people to understand, because quite frankly, you're the first person that I've ever talked to that really made that distinction and went on to say, hey guys, there's all these other things that fall under the umbrella, and these are possibilities as well. It's interesting.
You know what I say to families, Gwen, and it seems to make it a lot easier. When we all have our children and you leave the hospital with your children, you get a pediatrician for your child, because a pediatrician specializes in adolescents, the teenagers, and the younger years, right? So therefore, when you're having a geriatric issue, you know, there are doctors who specialize in gerontology, and they specialize in taking care of senior people. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to your regular doctor. Many people have those relationships for years, and that's okay. But just know that there are gerontologists who specialize in the care of older people. And then it goes beyond that, Gwen, where if there's cognitive issues, then they would get referred to a neurologist who specializes in the brain area of neurology. So there's all those different levels. And again, back to preparing, a lot of families don't understand that.
Right. They stop, they don't do anything further, things that might be options available to you, are really understanding what's happening. So that's one track, is to get the medical side of it, making sure that you have your power of attorney for healthcare. Because again, you're right, you're not going to be able to communicate with that doctor and go very far if you don't have that power in place.
Right.
And by the way, tip on the side point, you got to get that going before the dementia sets in. Then you're going to be stuck getting a guardianship. And that's a whole nother level of work that's so difficult to do. It is possible, but it brings out a lot more expense. So it's a much easier route to take care of business early on. But now let's go to that next step. So let's say we went to the family doctor, we even went further. There's a diagnosis that we are on this path and we need care. So what becomes the next step in your mind to pursue care for the person?
Well, it depends, you know, where the person's at. Many people, and I'm sure you can relate to this, leave everything till the last moment, till it becomes a dire situation where maybe they're getting lost out on the street, or they're walking out at nighttime because they've confused night and day. Could be sundowning. So it depends. When it could be somebody who simply is cognitively smart enough to know that something is changing in their own brain, and they will bring it to their children's attention. So that's the next conversation, is based on what does the doctor say, and what does the doctor recommend. And then it comes back to you all as the family. Well, who's at home? Is mom in danger to herself, or to anybody else that's in the house, or to the neighbors, or to the child that's walking across the street because potentially she's not able to drive anymore, right? So the next step is really the family looking to see, again, back to what they've seen unfold over the course of time, which brings them to the current situation, and you have to put things in place for the safety of everybody concerned. So it really unfolds like that, and should unfold like that if you're proactive. You and I both know that many families are going to push this under the carpet because they're in denial, because they don't have time to deal with it right now.
Right, and they don't want to spend the money on it either, because we know that these days become quite difficult, because now you are looking at, are you able to stay at home? And if you're able to stay at home, is home health care? And that's the question I have for you. Is home health care an option for them when they're in this state?
Well, it is. I mean, home care is available to anybody, Gwen, but it all comes back to the magical question. Can you afford it? And again, back to being prepared. I know you're a big advocate of that, and so am I. You don't think about that when you're 80. You should be thinking about that now when you're in your 40s, because every one of us are going to get old, and none of us have a crystal ball. So you have to plan and prepare, right? And put that process in place. So typically, Gwen, home care is private pay. In other words, you're paying for it yourself. However, there are certain ways that it can be paid for through the Veterans Association if certain things have happened. If you were smart enough, which many people were years ago, they took out long-term care insurance. And then I am happy to report, although I do not have any statistics and there are none out there, that there is big talks about the Medicare Advantage program putting some sort of procedures in place whereby they will pay for some home care for a certain amount of time per week. So it's getting there, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there right now. Yes. And then you only have so many days in rehab, and then the interesting, and it's just a side note, we don't have time to talk about it today, but how much is covered by Medicare? How many days can you be in rehab with your supplement? And then you're out, and when you're out of days, you're out of days, right? Then you're on a course, you got to do something.
That's right.
And you don't want to be there as a family member and not understand what that's going to entail. And then all of a sudden, the family has to be looking at what that's going to cost. Do you have both parents alive? How are you going to divide up that estate? And then, of course, there are facilities, am I correct, that take in people that have a form of dementia, whether it be Alzheimer's or something else, and they become a full-time care as well.
Yes.
So sometimes it's beyond the home health care.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When they become a danger and unable to be in the home at all.
I'm sorry, Gwen, say that
when
again.
They become a danger. When an individual becomes a danger to themselves or to others, there's different levels that people go through, and you have to be aware of what that's going to be. So you put a system in place, you try to utilize it. Because I think home care is an option, keeps the senior comfortable, allows them to have a good quality life before if they're going to be forced to another transition. Would you agree? That's
very important. And also that most seniors don't do well, cognitively or not. They don't do well with change. So when you have to move somebody out of a house into a community, it creates a whole other layer for you to have to deal with, because they're looking to go home and this place looks nothing like home. Right.
Just for my own mother who's in her 90s, I would say to you, she doesn't play well with others. She's got her own chair. She's got her own food she wants to eat. All of these things that the home is a better alternative for her, because that's just where it is,
Right.
And you have to consider those options.
She's right. They're her things.
They're her things, and it's her life, and it's her time.
Yes.
And so factoring all those things together, you feel for the people that have to embark on this, but what we know is that, tell us, what is the statistics for how many people are going to get into a dementia state and need this kind of care?
Well, let me tell you that we think we're in a pandemic now. There's another one that we're just about to enter, which is really, really sad. The numbers are astounding, and they talk about this magical year by 2050 where the numbers are going to triple. So that's pretty scary, and we need to have that infrastructure in place, and now is the time to put that infrastructure in place, which is why you see, Gwen, all of these senior living buildings going up. And now, not only are you seeing the senior living buildings going up, you're seeing buildings that are floors and floors of just memory care, nothing else. Right. So there's your first clue.
Some facilities are just memory care, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah. And this is very much on the rise all over the United States. In fact, there's a company called Artis, and they already have 9 in different cities around the United States, and they are 5-floor buildings just for memory care. So that's astounding.
And it's astounding, and it's also lights a fire under us. So if you're listening today, you have a parent or you're planning for yourself, it's time to think about what this future is going to look like. I remember when my dad and I was just out of law school, I was 23 years old, and he's like, you're going to take a whole life policy. And I'm like, I can't afford it. I'll do it when I'm 35. No, you're going to do it now. And then wouldn't you know how right he was? And it's interesting to look back. So I'm willing to tell that story to people to say, even if you're in your 20s, it's time to look at what kind of planning can you do where maybe cash is accumulating or benefits that are available, and take care of your business, really.
You're smart, and I like your parents, even though I've never met them, because it sounds like they raised you just like they raised me. We were always told to prepare for the rainy day. And guess what, Gwen? And I know there's always a rainy day. Always. Sure.
And if 2020 hasn't taught us that, I don't know what it taught us,
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Somebody's listening. How do they find you? How do they start their journey? Tell them what to do.
Okay, so you can find us on aishlingcare.com, and you can also call us here at the office. We're here every single day at 708-361-7845. For any younger viewers that are watching, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can get us on LinkedIn, and we're here to answer any questions. And just know that I'm passionate about what we do here, and if I can't get you what you need, I most certainly will hand you off to the best of the best out there in the community to get you the resources that you need during this challenging time. I know it's not easy.
Right. Well, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I know our viewers will as well. Take care.
Thanks, Gwen. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.